Winter, spring, summer, fall, seasons change, we still keep it together.
Hey, Beverly Hills 90210 fans! Are you ready to dive deep, episode by episode, storyline by storyline, character by character, as we break down the making of your favorite zip code? With your host, Charles Rosin.
Did I say that?
Harry
All this
Mollin.
heinous thing about the real person, and we're going, what? We're getting rid of this guy.
Pete Ferriero.
I'm feeling wonderful. Kathleen looks TV crush-worthy.
Like so many special guests. And all your questions. Live on the Beverly Hills 90210 show. Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, this is exciting. Here we are back live on the Beverly Hills 90210 show. Larry's on the East Coast. Charles is on the West Coast. How is all going in both of your worlds right now? Chuck, starting with you.
Well, we're back live, aren't we? Just like the Dodger bats. So everything is just fine. And LeBron James and Anthony Davis both want to say a good hello to you, Pete. Getting ready for Brooklyn, on the other side of the river. Yeah.
Well, I'm thankfully back on the West Coast. But I wanted to say that the Mets have had 16 injuries. This is outrageous.
Yeah, well, they should train better, right?
They brought up two minor leaguers.
Injuries. That's not coincidental, right? They just
they bring up two minor leaguers, and they both went down. So this is 8. We're down to 18 injuries. How's everything going on the East Coast, Larry?
Oh, well, the Red Sox are a little bit of a slump, a couple of games slump, but they're still, they're playing pretty well. We're happy enough. But yeah, no, it looks like a rainy Memorial Day weekend, which is unfortunate for the people coming to the island. But for us, we're happy. We've had nothing but fun dinners and other stuff. And I wrote the end of my first draft of my novel, Chuck. So I got that. I got to read it now and fix it up for about another month. But getting there.
Well, we don't waste time with ads and all that stuff these days. Let's get into talking about this episode. This is the season 5 finale. It's significant for a lot of reasons, and some of those people are going to be here in a few to talk about what was going on with them in the episode. But it's significant, I think, because we're seeing a lot of people leave the show. The Walshes are going to go, and Charles Rosin's going to leave. There's a lot of Andrea left a couple of episodes, so it's definitely
one before this.
Yeah, so it's definitely a changing of the world of 90210. So maybe Charles will start with you talking about what's going on at that time for you writing this, and also how 90210 was transitioning at that time.
Well, Larry, you jump in on too because you were there during these times too. But for me, the real, as I think I've said on the podcast before, it was the real McCoy where, I put my effort, prime effort. Certainly I remember breaking stuff down with Larry and Chip and being, part of that world and being part of this one, as well. But this was Larry and Chip's. And then there in the middle was Steve and Jessica's. And so, I was disengaging by, the certain point. And, by me transitioning out and everybody was hiring a staff, people were deciding what the pecking order should be. I realized, I look back at this particular episode and thinking about it, the stuff that I could be talking about in terms of the dynamics overwhelms the creative. So, because I thought about the creative, and I'm looking forward to talking about our guests, Larry, because the two plots that they are both in are the two that was the last bit of things that I thought I could bring to the party. What we're gonna do. I had run out of story stuff. I needed to be really recharged or be totally disengaged. So, and I realized that when this episode, also because of, and let's face it was P.S. I love you. And I was there on the set, so we wouldn't be talking about that. But, what really the stench that comes out of it is how the rebound, what effect that it had on Ray Pruitt, our friend Jamie.
Yeah.
And so there was always that. But I realized, it also, Larry, was the episode that marked me giving up control. So it's like it spun in different. It was the last one, and it spun. It was going to spin whatever was left up, whatever with the cliffhangers, whatever they weren't
Right.
going to be involving me. So it's pretty hard to prepare for that psychologically. This was an episode I, after being down there for the production, completely pulled away from.
Absolutely.
And also Larry will talk a little bit more about the, direction and stuff like that. But, were we able to build the moments that we were so aptly able to do so many other times and things. And with that, I turn it over to the East Coast.
I was going to ask you, Larry, for you, what's that transition like for you? Your bud's leaving, cast members are leaving.
It was exciting. Chip and I got to write that episode, and it was a combination of a lot of storylines, and it was big. I mean, geez, I looking at it again, I hadn't seen it, with the original music and everything. I watched it in 2 separate hours, but I didn't watch it all at once. Which I think it played over 2 separate weeks. I think I don't know.
No, it was a one.
It was a 2 hour, and it was fun. I mean, it was stuff was going on, and we used the locations well, and I was really jazzed by it. Especially seeing Jason drunk was such a pleasure.
Oh, that was some good stuff. I want to get to all those things. I'm going to start bringing on our guests. I want to let everybody know we're giving away a free DVD collection of the 90210 DVD collection that's currently out. All you have to do in the chat is write hashtag I love 90210, and someone here will win that collection. All right, let's bring some of our peeps on here. I love talking to this person because she's got a lot of great music and whatnot, and she came in a little bit earlier, but here is our friend Sara Melson.
Hello. How are you guys?
Good.
Alison Lash, our friend, right? And Chuck has significance because Karen was the girlfriend at one point, right? Isn't that how that
Chuck was the other man at one point in his life.
right.
Lived out our fantasies there in that one.
Yes, I guess we did.
All right. Before we get to the episode, we have a fan of yours that wanted to say hi, and she's really been digging your music. So here's Beth, a friend of our show.
Hi. Hi.
Hey,
Hi,
Beth.
Sarah.
Hi, Beth.
Beth DM'd me and said that she's really been listening to Sarah's music a lot. I have as well, but Beth wanted to have an opportunity to say something to Sarah. So go ahead. Yeah.
I did. Thank you, Pete. Hi, Sarah. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Well, it's funny because when you were on the show the first time, which I guess now has been like a full year, you had mentioned that you had a song that was on Grey's Anatomy, and I used to be. I mean, the show has definitely jumped the shark a little bit, but I was a huge fan, so I went back and made sure I saw like what scene the song was in. Absolutely love the song. So I've been listening to that so much lately, and then listened to your album from 2013, which I'm currently obsessed with. So I just love discovering new musicians and new artists. And an interesting thing for 90210 fans, I just recently realized that your song Never Been Hurt is a replacement song. It's used as a replacement song on the Pluto app when they do that. They have a 90210 channel, and there's a scene. I don't know if you guys knew this. I don't know if you knew this, Pete. Oh, you don't know this either, Sarah?
No. We did now.
I knew it, of course. I knew all the replacement music.
You knew it, Charles.
Okay, see.
That's so cool. That's
yeah,
great.
it's awesome. So it's in the scene where Emily Valentine and Brandon are making out in the car in season 2. It's your song. So yeah,
that's amazing. So there's a nice
Sarah. If it couldn't be Chris Isaacs, it might as well be you.
That's right.
Great. I'm honored.
All right, Beth. Thank you for stopping by.
Beth.
And
That's
all
wonderful.
Thank you,
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Sarah.
Always good seeing you. Okay, so let's talk about this, and let's bring on our other friends as well. We have our buddy Jeffrey King here. Charlie is here.
Charlie.
Now, are you guys ready for our mystery guest? Because this is going to be a blast for everybody. But we have Monica Schnarre, Elle with us as well. So this is really exciting to have the whole panel here.
I really worked hard to try to get Monica. Thank you so much for joining us, Monica.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is exciting.
Did you get to watch the show again? Did you watch?
I have not. I'm sorry. I have a young child and a new puppy. I have not seen it, but in a long time.
Well, we all got to watch it again. It was really amazing.
Fun.
Cool.
Yeah. Where are you? Where are you based, Monica? Where are you?
So I'm in the country. I'm 2 hours north of Toronto, Canada.
Nice.
What town?
I'm in Collingwood.
Oh yeah, I know the ski town.
Yeah, exactly.
I played Collingwood. I played there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
But let's not, we have Charley here too. We have Jeffrey King, our budding writer and our Rolling Stones, I don't know, fan or not.
Dylan's friend from rehab. Dylan's friend from rehab.
Cool. I'm gonna put these on so I can see everyone. Hi, there you are.
Those are cool glasses.
Thank you.
There's so much to unpack in this two-parter or this final episode of that season, but let's talk about Sarah's stuff first, because she's got things to do today. So I want to talk about bringing Alison back into the fold, Charles. It was great to see her. Why don't you talk to me?
Well, I did it by the numbers, because math doesn't lie, and it was one of the things that I think it goes true also with you, Jeffrey, in both of the characters. To get the sweep, and what we could do on 90210 that other shows just really couldn't do, given the extent of the order, is that Girls on the Side was number 13, and you came. Excuse me, the Fire episode was number 13, and you came back at number 28 in Girls on the Side. We waited 15 episodes to let Kelly emotionally deal with the fact of what had happened to you.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was this. And Jeffrey, you came in 12 with Rock of Ages, one that's near and dear to Larry and my heart.
Yeah, me too.
And then you come back in episode 22, Alone at the Top. And actually I ran into some, I can't watch everything I want to watch. So I just, right before coming on here, I watched the scene where Dylan seeks you out after being tempted by pot. And we actually see him. I don't know if you remember this, Larry. It's really kind of effective. He goes into a little knoll under some trees, and he tries to light this super joint that Valerie had given him, and the lighter doesn't work. So it kind of freaks him out. So he seeks you out at the motel. And you have what I think is this just really poignant moment when Dylan asks you, says, and it's the way I think you always played it, and why I always responded to your character, I think audiences did too, is because when he asks, well, what happens when that happens to you? And you say, it can't happen. Yeah. It doesn't happen. You're an older guy. This is your last time at the bat. You're this. You can't in your own mind fail again.
Yeah.
And it induces you to, I'm going to be writing. And he gets into that, and we get into the past lives regression stuff that's in your script. And in this episode, I guess, Larry, it leads us to the bad guys, huh?
Yeah. We're going to be finding Dylan's father's killer in the next season, so we set it up. But I want to go back to Alison a second, because Chip Johannesson, I think, in this episode, which I wrote with him, he wrote a lot of the lesbian stuff. Not that there's anything drawn from that, but he did. And looking at it again, Sarah, I thought this stuff was really, really cool. I thought we played it really well. And again, we knew we wanted to send Brandon down to the depths. And so what was going to blow his mind? So the girl's already turned him down. Now he thinks she's left him for a woman. So we had some fun with that. But I thought the scenes between you really played well, minus the mirror.
So Sarah, talk about this, get the call back to come back and do some more stuff. What was that like for you?
Oh, I mean, it was great. I definitely feel like it's funny how it was. I mean, Alison was, relatively speaking, a pretty minor character in the, overall season. It wasn't like, but you'd be surprised how often, even today, and this is so many years later, I'm recognized as Alison. I mean, it's just bizarre what an impression that made. And I think it's largely to do with the fact that at that time, there really weren't, surprisingly, that many, lesbian characters on TV. And so people who identified with her really kind of clung on,
Yeah.
And
I'm wondering in this, and I had one question for you. You see where it is, and had in season 6, for whatever reason, do you think if we had episodes that you happened to be in and she was in, and you would just be a friendship that you think you could have turned her?
You know, I wouldn't put it past myself.
Yeah.
Really.
Hey, there was a great line though. You know, she says to her, "You'll never know unless you try." She says, "I know."
Yeah.
But there's a lot of really tender stuff with you and Jenny.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are playing beautifully off of each other. So talk to me about the acting aspect of this and working with her and getting into some of this stuff.
Yeah, well, she was, I mean, obviously it's just such a pleasure to work with and just such a lovely, I loved our rapport. I thought was great and very natural. And I kind of wanted to make sure that I played the character also as pretty close to, I mean, I'm frankly, I'm not gay, you know, but not that I'm, you know, not open to it, whatever, but like I'm never, it's just not, you know, I'm straight. Okay. My point being is I didn't want to play any sort of weird, I just wanted to play myself and just speak the lines as I would interact with someone if I were just interacting with them. I don't know. This is all to say, like, I wanted to come across as just natural and like unaffected.
I think that worked.
Yeah. I think it was a good choice because it wasn't, I wanted to make sure it wasn't like a caricature of like a butch, you know,
right. I got you. Yeah, you weren't trying to play necessarily a gay person. You were playing Sara Melson if she was a lesbian.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
that's also what the era required.
Right, and I also kind of wonder too if, I mean, again, this goes back to like that was then, this is now, and like now, if you look at a quote unquote, like if you were to like Google like lesbian scene on TV, there would be some pretty graphic stuff going on, you know?
Yeah.
So back then, I mean, even so much as now, Chuck, maybe you'll remember, correct me if I'm wrong, but this could be made up in my head, but I seem to remember some memory of there was originally a kiss that was then written out. Do you remember that?
This has come up a couple of times. I
think so.
There was.
It was in the fire episode with you and
Jenny, and we were supposed to kiss, and then the network was like, "Oh no, we can't do that." I have
to draw. It sounds. Listen, I wouldn't put it past either of my, the people I was accountable to come up with that conclusion. But I have to take a pass. I can't remember this. I blocked it out.
I seem to remember.
Is there no kiss? Is there no kiss ever between you and Jenny? Is that what we're saying? Okay.
No, and I think there was, and then like I got.
We might have written one. I think we might have written one, Chuck.
Yeah,
we would have tried.
Larry, Gil Shelton would have wanted it. You know,
we would have wanted it. It would have been sweeps. It would have been sweeps. It would have been.
It would have been fine to do, and it would have been that more of my interest. I mean, I was saying that this plot I was interested in, and of course the script led into past regressions.
Right.
And then you came in, Charlie. I mean, Jeffrey, you were there for like 6, 7, and 6 in a row right before this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you were the stories that and you also led him to the hypnotherapist, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing was that, you know, you meet people in rehab and you become very close with them. As we were able to, you know, really mine that relationship and give Dylan a real, you know, kind of a buddy and a place to go. And then, you know, again, we teed ourselves up for the next season where we're going to be spending only 10 episodes we knew, but we're going to just go find Dylan's the killer of his father, you know.
Yeah.
Before we go to there with Jeffrey, Chris D'Annunzio, who normally asks weird questions, asks a fairly good question. Was there any thought to having Kelly do a full lesbian storyline for the next season? I think it's a fair question. No. But
the simple answer would be no.
Okay.
And the complex answer would be no.
No, we had already thought she was going to go to New York and, you know, model and, you know, and meet somebody. We hadn't, you know, envisioned the artist bad boy, but, you know, she wasn't. No. But, you know, I'm sure Alison, again, if I had been there longer, Alison might have come back. Look, we brought, Monica's character back in season 6, you know. We liked it so much, and we found a way to play it and give it some more dignity and have a little bit of fun.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she shows up at this award ceremony, and she ends up Chancellor Arnold falls for her. It's
amazing.
Meanwhile, Steve and Claire are together. It's hilarious. It's fantastic. And she's delightful in it, and it's got some meaning to it too. It's good. It's great
Lastly,
stuff.
for Sara, you come back to the show. The first time is probably super intimidating. The show is so huge and successful. Is there a familiarity kind of getting back into playing Alison the second time that you come back at the end of the season?
Yeah, and I had an advantage the first time. The first episode I did, I had a big advantage was that I wasn't a follower of the show. I knew of the show because every time I'd go to the grocery store, they'd be all over every magazine. So I knew it was a thing. Yes. I totally knew it was a thing, but I was super busy at the time. I mean, I had a band full time. I had my acting. I was just like, it was, I mean, at that point too, it wasn't like you could just turn on your laptop and watch a million different streaming. You had to like be there at 8 o'clock or whatever, you know.
That's right.
I didn't keep up with the show.
Right.
So ironically, that helped me because when I got to the set, I was very, what's the word? You used the word intimidated, which I really wasn't. I just wasn't. It just, to me, was just another job. And it was funny. I remember being in the makeup trailer and they were sort of fascinated with me. I felt like a bit of a zoo animal because they would kind of one after one come in and be like, this is the one that doesn't know your character's name, you know. They had never seen someone in like their age group who didn't know like everything about them. And it was just like, they were like actually fascinated with me, which was really odd.
Yeah.
And I would just have to be like, oh, hi, I'm Sara, you know, like, and you are, you know what I mean? And it was just,
God, I'm sure that went over great. Yeah,
it was actually truly entertaining for them.
Yeah.
Wow. Is that the same with you, Jeffrey? You didn't follow this show, did you?
Well, you know, I mean, I wouldn't say I religiously followed it, but I certainly watched it.
Yeah, and you watched it
more what people watched, you know. I mean,
and you were in all the good show. You were in good show after good show after good. So you were in the realm of television, where Sara was more in the realm of music, right? Am I?
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and also like at that point, I don't even think I had a TV at that point. Like, I really never watched TV, and so I just
amazing.
I mean,
do you have a TV today?
Well, as I remember, you just came out of college. You were a college girl.
I mean,
you were a college girl, as I remember. You went to an Ivy League school, and we were very impressed. Monica, did you watch the show before you came on?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't watch it. No, I didn't watch it.
Amazing. This is amazing. Yeah, I love this. All right, but Sara, I know you've got some things to get to and all that stuff, so we're going to say goodbye to you. But thank you for stopping by.
Thanks for having me, you guys.
Yeah, and message me when you got the gig.
I definitely will.
Awesome. All right. Good seeing you.
Bye-bye, Sara.
Bye.
All right. Very cool seeing Sara again. All right. Let's talk to Monica. This is sort of along the same thing here. You guys write something pretty interesting for her, Larry. So let's talk about writing Elle, and then we'll talk to Monica about becoming Elle.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's just, look, I mean, looking at it again, I remember a lot of things came back to me. One thing that came back to me, and I remember a few were a part of this discussion, but when we came up with the gag of what we were going to do, you know, the question is, what are we got to cast a man, or are we going to cast a man playing a woman, or a woman playing a woman who's whatever, you know what I mean? So it was a question of how to do it, and for me, it was not a question, because I really felt we had to protect Ian. We had to protect the actor, so he didn't look in any way foolish, and the only way to do that was going to be to cast a woman who was a man playing a woman. And it works brilliantly. I don't think it crosses anybody's mind at all. We stole the whole National Lampoon thing with Christy Brinkley. We got, okay, that's what we do. And you see this great vision of her. Well, we steal from the best. But I mean, when Monica came in, I mean, the minute we saw the pictures, we just knew that it was going to work. And she was, she was very brave to do it. And at the time, I mean, would today, we had cast a real transvestite. I don't know. I was so heartened to see in the Halston series, Ewan McGregor, who's a straight man, is playing a gay man. So maybe it's not so strict. But,
have you watched that Halston thing? Have you watched
I've watched half of it. Yeah.
Is it good? You're still watching?
I think it's good. I mean, I know the story now, so I feel bad.
Patricia says that Monica is so gorgeous.
Oh
for
God,
Monica,
yeah,
I'm curious about, and you are. I'm curious about this for you. Talk to me about walking into this role and how you became a part of this.
Well, funnily enough, I would be cast. I would never get the girl next door roles. I would get, the transgender alien cyborg. So when I walked in, I thought, I can do this because
that was your wheelhouse.
That was my wheelhouse. I'm 6'2". People have jokingly said in Canada, they've called me Manica because I'm so tall and I've got these man hands, and so when I went in and I had fun with it, and I remember being really excited at the prospect of playing a trans person. And of course now in hindsight, I have to go back, and I did hear that maybe you guys can tell me if this is true, that you did see trans women, but they weren't passive. You didn't feel that they were passable, or that the audience would be tipped off.
Yeah,
that's what
Larry,
I heard.
you said
we discussed that. We discussed it certainly, and it just I don't think we did. I don't think we. If we did, it was only to fill a quota. I think. I don't think it was, which possibly was true.
Oh,
I don't know.
That could definitely
have been at the time an early quota system. But again, we were really concerned the Steve Sanders character really legitimately got sucked in, and Brandon gets sucked in. And it's so much fun building Steve's excitement for the whole thing, and all the double entendres we give him. I did write the scene with the gas station with the hose in his hand. I've got all this stuff here.
And the one thing that
it's just ridiculous
at that whole scene is that some other car coming out. Of course, CBS would have cut it, but we would have been hearing Lola by the Kinks off screen, going on.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
Another thing about the hose scene was that gas was $1.39.
Oh, I saw that too, Jeff. I saw that too. Oh yeah, gas $1.39.
The whole thing. We've had that in even season 4. It was $1.35, and it didn't even rise that much between the 2 years when we got Jay filling up on the highway.
I thought, that did look great. But seeing her in Palm Springs and the hat she had, I mean, Molly Campbell did a great job on the wardrobe for her.
Yeah, Molly was around,
and I had forgotten you got to sing karaoke.
I forgot about that.
The classic Palm Springs song. I Got You, Babe, the Sonny and Cher song.
Oh my God.
There you are, talking to Jay.
You, babe.
Oh my gosh.
Looking incredible. And still today.
I have a question, if I may.
Sure.
The voice that they dubbed.
Great question.
It was very, very deep. And I just wondered if you guys did it as a gag, if they chose a very deep man.
Do you guys even know whose voice it is?
I'm going to say, I'm going to hope Steve Wasserman knows, or Chris Connolly at that point. No, I don't know. I don't remember.
Chris Connolly will know who it is.
It would have been, was Semmel was still, it was 5th season. I think Semmel was already directing just then. You think he was out?
Semmel was my associate.
Okay, yeah, Semmel might know. I don't, it was a surprise to me.
It was very deep.
It was deep. Again, it's going to end in a gag. So
yeah.
So
it was in. I guess that was my question. Was it intentional to make it?
I think also maybe Mr. Spelling wanted to make sure the gag went through. He was one that Chris talked about this, Chuck. That when they would bring him cuts and stuff, he really made sure you could understand every bit of dialogue. He hated when people mumbled and stuff, so he cut around stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's too bad to hear. My memory of Mr. Spelling in the last 6 months of the show is Kenny Miller whispering in his ear what he was watching.
Oh God!
So that he's making decisions like that at that point. You can cut it to the point that you're actually cutting around things.
Well, no, actually, he wouldn't be cutting. He'd be asking for ADR. I'm sorry, he'd be asking for ADR. He said we have to have ADR here, ADR.
Well, that might be true because when I was
that's one
of the things that I think we've discussed, Pete, is that I was in the sloppy sound. And it was always with the sound supervisor, a guy named Chris Harvitt. He knew what the spelling company wanted. He reported to them, and he liked crisp sound. So we'd often find it. But I did like sometimes not the mumble. A mumble is a mumble. But I do feel that our mixes, knowing what we did with our mixes at the time, I watch a lot of TV on platforms. And some mixes are really good, and some it's like they do it in 30 minutes. Let's see, even really good shows, because that's the ones I watch.
I find I'm using subtitles now more than more. I can't stand it, but I'm doing it. I got into it from watching the foreign shows, and now I just leave them on.
You guys,
I'm watching Mare of Eastwood with subtitles.
That there's a more natural delivery quality now, so that people like the sloppy sound, the more natural thing. Which
I think that's what we
the antithesis of network television
about Luke so much, is there was a natural tone to his character Dylan. I think he always brought that sort of quiet dialogue. So I think that's what we all kind of loved about him. Monica, a question about working with Ian. What was that? What was he like?
You know what? They were really lovely to me. Honestly, I have nothing bad to say. Ian was lovely. Jason is, of course, Canadian. They were very welcoming in the makeup trailer when I came in, and he was just funny. We just had a lot of fun goofing around. The car scene obviously was awkward, right? He's reaching down my top and pulling out a jelly boob. It was all very. It was all very funny and awkward, and we just made the best of it.
Yeah,
he was a gentleman about the whole situation.
Lisa wants to know from Monica, did you get recognized for your role after it aired for years later? And I'm curious because there's so much that goes along with that.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this. So yes, so obviously the show was so well liked and seen around the world, and I would get recognized in bars or at a party, and usually young drunk men would ask me very personal questions about my anatomy.
Larry, this is your fault.
I swear to God, more than once, a 19-year-old young man would ask me what was happening downstairs, and I and then my girl, because I'm very kind and very, I'm non-confrontational, and then my girlfriends would step in and say, "What did you just ask her?" and they would proceed to just rip this poor kid who had been dared by his friends to ask me the question, and they would just rip him, and he would just sulk away, and it was really terrible for a couple of years.
And the DJ would put on Bob Seger singing "The Fire Down Below." What was going on, by the way.
And just for the record, I birthed my son. Just if anyone's,
I imagine so. Right,
that stops the conversation.
Art Hindle, your friend Larry Mollin, says hello. Monica.
Art.
That's nice.
Yeah, Art Hindle.
Hi, Art.
Yeah. Very cool stuff. All right, Monica, we're going to say goodbye to you. We're going to move along to Jeffrey. It was very cool when they brought you back, and we want to have you come on and talk about that at another time. So
I would love that. Thank you for having me, gentlemen.
Yes, very good to see you.
Nice to see you, Monica. Bye. Take care.
Bye.
All right, awesome. Just a reminder to everybody, I am giving away a DVD collection, and all you have to do for that is hashtag I love 90210. We will save our commentary on that for another day. Okay, Jeffrey King. I'm so excited because they bring you in a big way here in this, and this is one of Chuck and I's favorite things to talk about. It feels like we talk about it as much as we possibly can. They bring you in this Rolling Stones episode.
Rolling Stones episode, I know.
I want to know from you. Talk about auditioning and becoming a part of the show.
Well, it was an incredibly well written thing, that episode, I think, and we got to play. There was size to it. There was a lot of intensity to it, and so when you go into audition for something like that, you can step into it. You can lean into it a little bit. And I've got I'm a theater actor. I've been a theater actor all my life, and to be able to walk into a TV audition and get something that has, like some bite to it to audition with is unusual, and really it gives you a lot of hope, right? So I remember feeling after the audition pretty good about it, because you don't find out for a little while whether you got the job or not. but I remember feeling that even if I didn't, that it was a good audition, you know, and there's something to that. There's something to be had from that. And then, you know, to do the episode was really a treat. It was really a treat. And it was an incredibly welcoming group of people. Everybody was really, really nice. You know, Luke was amazing. So it was just it was all around a really good experience. And then to come back was just icing, you know.
Before we get to that, really I want to ask. I'm going to show the Rolling Stones thing, but Chuck, do you remember the audition at all? Do you remember Jeffrey's audition?
Not specifically, but you know, it's one of those things. Just like Jeffrey just said, you got it. I mean, you know, when an actor knows they've got it and then they get it, the producers knew too, obviously.
Yeah, I was in the room. I was in the room for it, you know, and he had he had all the stuff we wanted. I mean, we wanted him to be a little bit older than Dylan. He was able to meet the intensity, and he was a different kind of look. You know, a lot of things were working for it, and he had a good resume too.
Exactly. Well, you're exactly right on that, and we used kind of almost a more like what used to be the old Synanon model, a much more confrontational G group kind of thing that was big in the 70s, which is what Larry and I would know, you know. So it lent itself to, you know, the dramaturgy. It
lent itself to drama because I remember, you know, in those scenes really pushing him and pushing him and pushing him and pushing him. And you know, the reason this older guy is pushing him is because he sees himself.
Yeah, but also you do want to assert your power. I wouldn't think it was all that altruistic. I think that was I'm the alpha dog of this thing. And,
he was the bully. I mean, he was the bully in the room. Right. And he was the guy who would take down everybody in these group therapy sessions. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was part of the fun. Then we used the hat to transfer the let
me show the scene real quick because we can't get enough Rolling Stones episode, can we?
We have a new member, as you can all see. His name is Dylan.
Move him into the circle. He's avoiding us.
Would you like to move in, Dylan?
Not yet.
All right. I'll accept that. Okay, let me introduce you to the group. It's Shara, Joe, Mitch, Dee, Rich, and Charlie.
How you doing? Oh, we're doing great, genius. Yeah, we're just about one step away from the padded room.
Huh? Thank you for that reminder, Charlie.
Great stuff, man.
Yeah, just trying to create a nightmare for Dylan.
And I guess that's the only time we used the therapist because we never really went back to rehab in that way. But that therapist is Julie Cobb. That's Lee J. Cobb's daughter.
Lee J. Cobb's daughter.
And she is a fine actress. I think mostly a theater actress like yourself, Jeff.
We talked. I remember talking to her during some breaks about. I was just knocked out by the fact that she was Lee J. Cobb's daughter because he was a very great actor, and we talked about it quite a bit that day or two that we were shooting those.
For fans who wouldn't necessarily know it, the movie to go back to see, it's worthwhile. It's one of the really finest movies of the 50s. Is On the Waterfront. He played the Union boss,
Johnny Friendly.
Yeah.
Well, in this episode, things get really interesting because Jeffrey or Charlie unknowingly is he knowingly? I don't know. That question came up. Brings Dylan to go meet these guys because they're interested in the script that they have been writing, and they run into people that know what happened to Dylan's father. So I guess this is for Charles and Larry. How did this is great. I mean, this is some really good stuff. I love what you guys are doing here, but how did this come into your world here?
Well, Larry, it is a little bit of it. It makes me think of it, and it was out in the culture, and I remember being told about it in this, but it's right here. I mean, and it was in the world that we were in, was Get Shorty. I mean, independent movie making, collecting money is about somebody's tax avoidance scheme. Or, you know, one way or the other, you know, I mean, there's a lot of funny money that goes into a cash business like an indie movie.
Sure.
So it's not, I don't think there was ever anything other than I'm trying to get the movie made and here's some money, people. I don't think that the character of Charlie gave it even a second thought about any kind of relationship coming back to Jack McKay. I don't know how you feel about that, Larry.
No, not at all. I mean, he wouldn't have even known Jack McKay at all, probably.
Exactly.
But I mean, certainly he had a sense that, you know, it's spaghetti money, or you know, that it's going to be.
You wouldn't be alone in that.
Sorry, Pete, not to be a cast aspersions on your people. But,
that's okay. We're used to that.
I mean, we have James Handy in this picture. Chuck, looking at James Handy in this, it really elevates the whole thing. So they have the guy. He meets the guy, and we meet James Handy who acted with Paul Newman in The Verdict. I mean, like, so yeah, this is a good cast.
I remember walking into that scene, like not knowing he was going to be there, and walking in to rehearse the scene, and it was James Handy, and being really knocked out by that. Yeah, that was really cool. That was really cool.
You talked about, Jeffrey, working with Luke. The fans love when we hear Luke's stories. Anything specific, or in working with him as another actor?
You know, my memories of it, and obviously it's a long time ago, but my memories of it were being completely respected. I felt completely respected as an actor, you know, because sometimes, you know, if you do guest shots on lots of TV shows, you can come in and you're the outside guy, and you walk in, and, you know, you got to prove yourself and that sort of thing. And I never felt that. I felt like he and everybody else around him, because I felt like he set the tone a lot, at least in the stuff that I experienced, that he, from the very get-go, respected me and respected my work. And he didn't know me, but he respected my work, and he respected the fact that I was an actor and that I was going to bring whatever I brought to the scene. And so when we would shoot, particularly, you know, when we started off shooting the scenes in that first episode, the Rolling Stones episode, you know, we were butting heads in those scenes. And you know, as an actor, I got to say, you love it when somebody meets you, you know, when they really meet you, and they don't, you know, when they don't defer to you. And so I always felt so respected and so welcomed in by him and by everybody. And I felt like he, you know, I have a lot of memories of him sort of between takes, talking with people and entertaining people, and people loving him. You know, you could feel it. And so it was a treat for me to be part of it. Every time, I think I did 7 or 8 episodes or something like that. And every time I came in, it was just, it was something to look forward to.
That's really nice.
It was great. It was really nice. And I always put him at the center of it, because the thing that I was told, and I don't know how true this is, but I was told, I think by my agent, that one of the reasons I kept coming, that I was brought back, was because Luke had enjoyed working with me. And so, you know, maybe not the only reason, but that was part of the mix. I don't know.
Charles.
I love those agents, guy.
Yeah, they tell you they always tell you the truth.
But the writing.
I mean, I'm sure he did, and I'm sure that was, maybe he even mentioned it. But you know, we're sitting up the other part of town trying to weave through storylines. We're not really thinking about that part.
Charles,
of it.
You loved Jeffrey. You guys wrote all this stuff for him. So tell me what it was about when you kept seeing him do the work, because we've talked on this show before where characters were written and then they didn't come back after an episode. So obviously there was something great and wonderful about what Jeffrey was bringing to it, right?
You took the words right out of my mouth, of course, and that's what and it also fit. It made the storyline more. Without Jeffrey being the one who introduces through the screenwriting process the notion of past regression life therapy, by introducing to the therapist, is the only reason that Dylan would even consider it. Because as a writer, you know, it's almost like the method guy. Oh, I'm going to shoot heroin now because I'm writing about heroin. You know, not really, but also the one wanting the experiential element of it.
And it fed the Kelly story.
And then it fed out the Kelly story. Who am I, and why am I behaving this way? I mean, there is, you know, we always, whether it was this regression therapy or the cult thing we had done or this, but nonetheless, people are looking for, why do I behave the way I do? Hello, Scientology. There would be no Scientology if that wasn't the question being asked, right? I mean,
now, let me talk to you about some of the script writing. You guys are writing the script writing. I mean, that Charley and Dylan are running. You bring this actress, right? Was it Angela? She has to get a part. You know, I mean, talk to me about that, Larry. We were talking.
Well, I have to say we took some of the Woody Allen plot from that movie. One of his movies about Broadway.
Broadway Danny Rose.
Broadway, no, I don't think is it Broadway Danny Rose? I don't think it is. I think it's the other one.
The one with Diane Weiss. Don't talk.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one, Chuck. Yeah, and we just thought, because we know we're going to have, again, Chuck was saying he was less concerned with what we were doing after this, but we knew we were going to have a Dylan search for the killer of his father. So we just thought we'd have some fun with it. You bring out the, the spaghetti money, and the guy, of course, wants to put his girlfriend in it, a classic situation. So we're going to get a little bit of comedy there before we get some terror. And so the idea was, of course, she'd be horrible. And, the guy's got to work around her. And to Charlie's credit, at the end of the movie, he's written 2 new scenes. He's going to make her work. It's going to work.
This thing is going to get made. We're going to make this.
It's going to get made. That's it. It's going to be on IMDb. He's going to IMDb credit. But the girl is really good. And she, again, the great line is, it says, because Charlie's reading the stage direction, he says, and then Angela whatever her name is, Angela whispers, and she goes, "Can you hear me?" There's no sense, just totally.
Did you guys have fun playing with what writers would write in one of these indie type films?
Of course. Yeah. You're the play within the play.
Yeah, exactly.
The play within the play. Absolutely. And Chip, who wrote this, with me, and he's not here now, and yes, absolutely, it's a lot of fun. And a lot, you just want. That's what keeps it fun for you when you get your collaboration. And Chuck's there in the other room and going through that and coming in, and the Wassermans were there, and it was a big. It was just a lot of fun this episode. It seems like a lot of good stuff.
You were talking about all the goodbyes, Pete. Well, it was also goodbye to Chip.
Yeah.
He had gotten a pilot deal with the Spelling Company, kind of to stick around as an inducement, and he wrote a terrific pilot. And the network ordered it as a presentation, and Mr. Spelling said he didn't want to do a presentation, so we saw the writing on the wall in that one too.
And then Chip, of course, went right to X-Files. Like, what?
He did one political show. Faux Kennedy thing, but after that he went right into
X-Files and Millennium, like from the light romantic to
exactly.
X-Files, conspiracy, and then Millennium, like serial killers.
We do say goodbye to Jim and Cindy here. Listen, we always talk about this on this show, how important those characters were in the first 5 seasons, but I guess it's more for Larry because you were already leaving, Charles, so you couldn't really stand on the hill for them. But what was that process like, Larry?
Well, I didn't have much say in it. We just, when everyone was re-upping, they were looking at the budget and what they could do to cut it. We thought we could make story with them leaving and the kids living in the house. And obviously we made story here with the house being sold and have a little bit of fun with that. But I had forgotten the hallucination part, though, with Brandon drunk and hallucinating his parents. It was just absolutely wonderful. Yeah, really cool. And so we gave them some good stuff to go out, and they came back at various times also. So it wasn't like the last time.
Well, I think she did. I'm not sure James did.
Did he he didn't come in the season 10 at the end, or
no? He came back, and I actually think Brandon went and visited him with Tracy in
in Hong Kong. Yeah, we have that. Yeah, we did.
Actually, they went to Hong Kong, Chuck.
Yeah. But we should say also the house. The house thing was really a good bit because the house is so important. Castle Walsh is so important in the lore to be able to sell it, and then we used it for more story when we try to wreck it in season 6 before the escrow closes. But the realtor is Elaine Joyce, who's one of the great women of Broadway. Did you know that, Jeff? Did you
reckon? I did. I kept thinking, God, who is that? Who is that?
Well, she starred in on Broadway in Sugar, which was the remake of Some Like It Hot. But she also was married to Bobby Van, and her last husband was a guy named Neil Simon.
Yeah. Oh, that guy.
Well, let me put something else in here that you would not know, Larry, is that, or you probably forgot, Bobby Van was the host of Make Me Laugh,
which Mort Green.
Created by Mort Green.
That's great. I did not know that. That's Karen's father.
Karen is not listening to this, I'm sure. Mort Green told me he had a lifelong crush on Elaine Joyce.
Oh, I did too.
And they were very good friends.
Oh, well, too bad we couldn't get her here today.
She actually was a girlfriend of a good friend of mine, Ron Fujikawa, for a while. Would come down to the Santa Monica Little League games, and she was gorgeous.
She was a beautiful woman and very nice. I met her once or twice, not knowing even that she was in here. I swear, even in terms of the casting of her, using her, I wasn't involved with that moment. So I don't know where I was doing, but it wasn't that.
I'm going to ask,
you know,
one more question for Jeffrey, and there's a couple of major things that we have to talk about here. We've still got the Donna Ray thing, right? We've got Brandon Drunk. We've got a whole bunch of other things that we need to.
Brandon Kelly, yeah, I mean,
yeah. And Valerie, there's that moment too. So, but for Jeffrey, did you get recognized from this show following it, and does that still happen to you?
You know, I didn't so much, but I would tell people. So they would get recognized after that, right? But it's always been kind of a big deal. But it wasn't the kind of thing that I got recognized for now.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Until except retroactively, but then because I would tell them to pick it out and then they would.
Gotcha. All right. Well, very cool, Jeffrey. Thank you for being here with us. It's
absolutely sure.
Great stuff, Jeff.
Thanks. Thank you.
I'm really proud of. So glad we found you.
And say hi to all those people in the buggies for us.
The buggies, yeah, the buggy people.
Yes. They go up and down the street all the time.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right, my man. Good seeing you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Let's talk about this thing that happens here. Our friend Caitlin made a very funny video, and so this will set up the next thing.
What is still mad about missing the thing with your mother?
Can we just let it go? I need a break, okay?
What, you need a break?
Good, because the only reason I'm here is you. Now maybe I should go back to LA and rehearse with my band, which is what I should have been doing this whole time anyway. Yeah, maybe you should. Hey, don't walk away from me.
Stop it!
Stop acting like I'm not even here.
You know what? I can't deal with this. Why are you so mad at me?
Because you make me mad.
You know what? I have to go work on my feet. No. Ow, you're hurting me.
You're gonna listen to me. Donna, I didn't mean to, babe.
Stay away from me. Donna, are you okay? Ray, go get the hotel doctor. Go.
I'll stay here. You go get the doctor. It was an accident, babe. I didn't mean that. You know that, don't you?
I mean, this is Emmy Award-winning stuff here.
It should have been me conceived, Larry, as an outdoor sequence. Clearly,
God,
forget what actually happened. We did use the stairs. We could have used the slopes.
The slope. Yeah, it would have been lighter if she wouldn't have. Well, she didn't break her arm. She only bruises it. I had forgotten this whole beginning part where he's playing the song to win her back and stuff. It's so great. I'm thinking about it now. I mean, I kind of threw ideas out to him, and he wrote the song. It was so sweet. He writes a Donna song for us. And then he also sings, he sings
Life
the
Goes
Beatles
On.
song. He sings Life Goes On. Yeah, I mean, and we also set him up for that next year when we're going to go to rehab. We talk about his father and abusing his mother in the beginning. And, it was, we were doing it. But I have to say the director, to me, tonally just played him very, very harsh, I thought. It didn't have to be played that hard.
I was going to ask.
And I feel that we were, but I think we were pointing it to that way. I don't disagree with you. But I think that
it's a tone.
And you and I have discussed it. The 2 to 3 even leading up to this, he was humorless. He couldn't.
Yeah.
We didn't.
Yeah.
Give him those moments anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we wanted that. I think it kind of deviated a little bit.
Maybe. I mean, because he should have just. If he was feeling that way and was that, we should have just broken him up. I mean, it wasn't a good. Obviously, it wasn't a good fit. He wanted to get laid, and she wasn't going to do it. And what was
it all comes down to that. I was thinking that watching it this time. I said, well, yeah, it's because it's it's just this what's going on, trying to keep this relationship. That the next year, Chuck, we have her with a guy who is also a virgin. It works out much better.
Right. Well, I know, and I thought that was good. It kind of took the whole issue.
You got through a whole season of not worrying about it.
Exactly.
But
Larry,
it's
let me
great
ask
though the
you,
way
I was going to say.
We don't get Catherine and Cannon here, which is unfortunate because it's really great seeing her and Ray together, and we really turned that relationship a bit here. And it's like
they're on the same side.
She sets Ray up for this. Like you have a mission, make Donna dress more, sedate.
Exactly, and they strange bedfellows kind of thing. And she was great. I think I've also mentioned to that. When you hire, sometimes it's really nice to have the actors come on, get to talk to them in this. But while I was doing the show. Even someone like Catherine Cannon, it wasn't who I was going to be talking to. I'd be talking, hello, Luke, hello, director, because that's who I really would be, or Rick Gunther, our DP, the first ADs, how we do, whatever. It really wasn't. But this episode, she was down there, and we were the adults. And I was just telling Karen, I remember the night that we went out, when I went out to dinner with Jason, but came back, and everybody was at the bar. And we were at the bar and we danced and, the night away. And it was a lot of fun, all of us. I
hope you're listening, Catherine.
We were members. We had a good time just dancing.
This is tough what happens to Jamie and all that. So, I mean, Larry, is it the direction? Is it the way it was written? What do you think looking back on it? Would you do something different?
Well, I just wouldn't play him so harsh. I'd take the tone down a bit. I mean, I think, I saw we were going the nuts and bolts of it. We were going to send him in rehab, and he was always going to be the outsider. But what are you going to do with the sex thing? It was always going to run into that. We certainly weren't going to all of a sudden have sex with him in, the beginning of season 6. Maybe, you're going to save that for sweeps or the end of the season. So it was, it was always going to be problematic. That's where we thought the rehab thing would fill in some episodes.
And we were told, remember being in Vegas, being told what it was like for Jamie to go out that first time by Zach, and it was tough. We also didn't really realize, being in our cocoon, the impact that would have on his relationship to his fans.
Yeah, his own.
I mean, he was, how do you talk to an angel?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden,
we turned him heel. He went babyface to heel. And we never got a chance to babyface him again.
Real quick.
Never had a chance to turn him back.
Alicia asks the question, what was the thought process of pushing him down the stairs, which we kind of covered. Sort of.
Well, he doesn't really push her. Again, it's it's a combination of things in our mind. I'm looking at it shooting wise. Does he push her? He doesn't mean for her to fall down the stairs. He just, there's some physicality there. So it's an accident, but there's been a lot of aggression and violence. So he's at fault.
Right. And it was important. I mean, Jessica, and I mean, this was a high-minded.
Yeah, I mean, we had done research about this.
This was going to have, look, we've talked about this again. You want your characters to be characters and not role models.
Right.
And the only way to have these characters become role models and or have real impact on the social values of the audience is if you let them cross lines, make mistakes, and they learn from their mistakes on a show like ours. And that had been our template again and again and again. And it got interrupted on this one.
Yeah,
there was the outside forces, ratings, the dynamic of the spellings at that moment, and we were done. And these guys, and me being an absentia, he was done. He was cooked.
Yeah.
I want to pull here a question that came up. Someone wanted to know here. Chuck, if you had been at the helm going into season 6, what storylines would we have seen? You mentioned continuing season 5 Val and Brandon drama that we saw in this episode. What else? So now we have
really impossible. I'd love to really answer that and say, oh, this is what I would have done. I really, as I said earlier in the podcast here, I pretty much run out of the ideas. I mean, I knew that where the guys were going, obviously, we're going to find a killer. There were different ways to do it. This is the ways they did it. In some ways, it wasn't. I was more interested in, tying in Jack McKay. We've talked about that. Would I have done that in this? Probably somehow. That would have been at least in my forefront of conversation. I liked Brandon and Valerie making out. It probably would have been weird. Would we have ever brought them back together? Maybe. Who knows? Kelly, it was a good, I feel was a really good basis of having it be that you know, we're going to have her do the party, like go to New York, have the lifestyle that was her mother's, and then fall into the same trap. And we have done things like that. So it made perfect sense. But at the same time, did it shift her personality again to be more of the victimhood? Did it change what we had done with her for the 4 years? It's possible to tell.
No.
When we have brought back, you know, we talked about it. Would we have tried to be back Brenda? Would we have grown?
Somebody asked that, yeah.
Well, you know, I'll tell you what these things are motivated by: ratings. And you know, when ratings are shifting, what are we going to do? What can we do? What can we do? Would have Christine, and I know Christine Elise was in the writing department at this point, but would we have been better off having her be back somehow? Is it what, you know, Emily Valentine was always a winner because of the kind of relationship that she had with Jason / Brandon. So there were a lot of things you'd be exploring, plus new characters. Would I have, in deference to my friend Kelly Tata, would I have less with the character of Nat? Most probably.
Interesting.
So it's after 30 years, guys, 25 years. So, you know.
Speaking of Kelly and not Kelly Tata, we do have a really awesome interview that's coming to the Patreon with Kelly Tata, and we're going to do more with her down the line. But speaking about the other Kelly, she does not like prank calls. You know what I mean? There's this great scene with Brandon. Brandon is drunk. Let's talk about Brandon getting drunk and all the prank calls. Yeah.
Well, the idea that Brandon would be drunk is just so delicious, and he just threw himself into it. And that whole thing where, you know, I think we have the Muntz T-shirt. You know, welcome to hell, Muntz is the devil. It's so funny. I mean, that whole thing with the squirting the margaritas was something I had seen in Cabo San Lucas when we were doing the location there. Yeah. And I didn't get a chance to use it because they used it on Squid Row in the Real Cabo, and it looks great there. I mean, it's just that whole party stuff is crazy, and you got Jed Allen playing Rush with Steve, and it's you know, that stuff is pretty cool too because it all works into the Elle stuff because Steve's kind of being, you know, forced away from his dad's choice in a woman. And he's got his dream woman who's not a woman. Yeah,
all very awesome things happening in this.
But actually, the Kelly, back to the Kelly and Brandon stuff is pretty significant because we're coming off the rawness of the I Choose Me, and Brandon's got nothing, you know, and he thinks Kelly has the affair with Alison. He totally screws up on that, and then there's nothing he wants to say to her. She's like trying to find some ground between them, which is kind of nice and keeps the flame going. But you can see he's pushing off. I mean, he's just the disappointment. And Chuck, how about that bus scene? I thought is so great between.
I was going to ask you about that.
The two guys. Luke had a terrifying experience. You know, horrible. I mean, he's so vulnerable. And then they end up on a bus of all things. The two Beverly Hills kids on a bus going back to Los Angeles, and they're just sitting there. And Brandon says, you know, for the first time, I'm in no hurry. He's got nothing. He's put all this stuff into this relationship with Kelly, just like Dylan did, and they both have nothing.
Well, you know, the other thing this whole episode, as we're talking about Brandon, that I remember and just want to cite is he and I went out to dinner, and we went out late, and on his insistence, because most people would be gone from the restaurant, and he wanted to go. Brandon Jay at that point, he loved Italian food, so we we're going to go to this Italian restaurant that was right nearby that he'd been 2 or 3 times. And the waiter was his buddy. It was the good like this, and
free meal.
And the moment that Jason is telling me that when you are a star, that you're allowed to become the person who you really are, and he was explaining that to me in the moment that as he's taking a fork and putting his first forkful of food in his mouth. And that's when the waiter comes over and asks for his autograph. And I realized that is the trade-off that these actors, that's what they do. That's what happens.
Hey, before we go next thing, I just want to say, hey,
it was an empty restaurant, by the way.
We're giving away this DVD. You have to do this now. Hashtag I love 90210 in the comments, and we're going to give away one of these things. So make sure you do that right now. And hopefully this giveaway tool will work, and then we can give it away. So we'll see how that plays out. It does look like it's working. Just keep hitting hashtag I love 90210. And then there's the kiss with Valerie at the end of the episode.
Kiss.
So hot,
Great.
and Valerie is so hot just in general in this episode.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, that's the whole fun. I mean, she's in the hot tub and she's like boiling in the hot tub. It's fantastic. And months goes by with the Cha-Cha group, with the Alley Cat group, and Brandon just keeps turning it down. And finally, he gets busted. I think we took it in a nice place. And then in the end, there she is. And what the hell? He's got nothing, and they kiss and kiss. We had to get permission from that Smurf thing, which thank God we did. It's really cute. At the little Smurf party we shot.
What Smurf?
At the end, there's a home movie from Buffalo.
Oh, right.
And there's
No
a
doubt.
Smurf birthday party. We had to get right.
Oh, and there's also like the parasailing or glide. What was it that Dylan is going to get?
Oh,
an
yeah. I have no idea.
Where does that even come from?
I think someone had a friend with footage or something. It was something like that. Like Kenny Miller maybe said, "Hey, can we use some gliding footage? I've got some." I don't know. Do you have any recall of that, Chuck? I didn't remember it at all.
No, not really.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, I'm going to try to give this
the
thing
tram
away.
stuff is great, though. I mean, the tram stuff is the real deal. The tram stuff is the real deal. I think we did that well.
Let's see if this will work. Giveaway tool. Does everybody see it? I'm going to hit draw. I don't know. Is it working? Let's see.
The Red Sox are winning, if you're wondering.
It looks like it looks like John Lugo.
John Lugo
is the winner of the DVD. So there you go.
And John, whenever you watch at least the original, you're listening to all that replacement music, just really enjoy it.
Hey, the Sara Melson thing, that's pretty interesting.
And, Sara Melson, really enjoy her because she is great. But the rest
she was awesome. Okay, so John, hit me up at Peter at BeverlyHills90210show.com, and we'll figure out how to get that to you. Hey guys, I think we covered this episode. I'm not too sure that there was anything else to talk about here. I think we hit all the beats. I mean, Claire.
There's one thing the director did not cover Dick Dale's band nearly enough.
Yeah,
Dick Dale is one of the most influential. He is the king of the surf guitar, but it's too bad. He had a line in it, but I would have wanted to see the band a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, he even gets a line in this thing. You guys give Dick Dale a line, right?
And he became my friend after that. I invited me out to. He had a Sky Ranch where he had his plane.
And for me, my final 90210 moment relative to production, I've said this before, is that we were drinking all night. It was a late night in this, and as the actors know this, but I'm a lightweight then and now when it comes to alcohol. So I woke up with a pretty big hangover, and it's like 7:15 in the morning, 7:30 in the morning, because they're setting up to do the shot, and that's where my casita was right around there, and I kind of flopped down on one of these lounge chairs away from where they're going to be setting up the camera. And the PA comes up to me, and he's a PA that we picked up in Palm Springs. We had no idea who I was. And he comes up to me, and he says, "Excuse me, sir, do you mind moving?" And I immediately, as you might expect, as a foreshadowing of what my personality would become later in life, no, I'm not going anywhere. What the fuck? I'm sitting here. I'm walking here. I'm sitting here. And the poor guy really, he won't move. I'm not moving. I don't know who you people are. I don't even like that show. That whatever it was. And then finally, Victor Lobo realized it was me and it was a joke, and I got in the car and I drove away, and that was bye-bye 90210.
Bye-bye 90210. Hey, Larry, did you write Charlie after Chuck Rosin, or because you got the character name, right? Or was it Charlie Watts because it was the Rolling Stones episode?
I don't remember. I just became Charlie. I don't know. I don't think it was.
Larry I never think. Don't you have a bigger thing with Charlie Brown, and Lucy and all that? No, that's not.
Charlie. Sure, I guess.
No, I don't think so.
I have no. I think it just.
I always think that definitely Steve and Jessica put down that the crazy, creepy brother is Chucky to.
I got you.
Knowing that was what I was called as a boy.
I was going to say we never called Charles Charlie.
Charlie, I don't think so.
I think it just was happened. He just said Charlie.
This is great. This has been really awesome. We covered this really great. I think we're going to do an after dark.
I'm happy we did it because you can't see it on Hulu, of course.
That's right.
That's true.
Larry and I are covering Phantom of CU next week. That's the intention and the plan. Of course, as we've learned, that can change like that. So that is the plan, though. Season what is that? Season 7, right? That episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chuck's gonna be in Hawaii.
Aloha.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys, this has been really good. We will see you next time, and thank you very much. All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.